So, Dave, in the Nation magazine, you have written a letter to Cam Newton. Cam Newton, of course, is the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. And I should say right up front, I am a Patriots fan, despite the fact that Tom Brady has expressed a certain affinity for politicians that I don't necessarily agree with. You grow up in the era of the Patriots that I did, with folks like Victor Kayem and problems with folks like Lisa Olson. You feel like you deserve to enjoy your team without having to worry about such externalities. But I have to say, and as depressed as I am about the Patriots not going to the Super Bowl, after that game when they lost last week, my daughter, who has become oddly a football fan, and I watched Cam Newton as the Panthers ran over the Cardinals, I guess it was. And he is one of the most exciting. I think he is probably the most exciting football player that I ever remember watching. And I say this, like I say, as a dyed-in-the-wool Patriots fan. My daughter jumps up and down whenever Gronkowski takes off his helmet. But Cam Newton is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, he's that good. I mean, first of all, let's start with his size, because what makes him so amazing is that he's almost indestructible. And at the quarterback position, you don't want to ever get too tied in or fall in love with anybody, because they might be gone the next play. So in Cam Newton, though, you have someone, he's 6'4", 6'5", he weighs 250 pounds. He has one of, if not the strongest arms, and he's able to run. This year, he became the first player in history to throw for 35 touchdowns and run for 10 touchdowns. I mean, those just aren't NFL numbers. Those are like West Coast College Conference numbers.
Right.
I mean, just ridiculous, cartoonish video game numbers. And he does it all with a certain flair and fun that is also very atypical for the quarterback position, because it's so interesting. Like in the NFL, you've got showboats and show-offs all over the field. People dance after sacks. Wide receivers are famously known as the diva position. And yet the quarterback, with all due respect to you, Sam, has to look for some reason like Tom Brady. In other words, like they're having no fun at all and like they're permanently constipated. I mean, when I read that Tom Brady had never drank coffee and he was bragging about this, I was like, that's what explains the facial expressions. Dude must be so constipated. And so in Cam Newton, you have someone who's not so incredibly emotionally stopped up. And that, with the color of his skin, drives people, a certain segment of people. I don't even think a majority of people, because I think people are falling in love with him left and right.
Yeah.
Because that's what winning usually does in the NFL. But I think there are a segment of people who are almost like Cam Newton dead enders. And they'll never like him because he doesn't, quote unquote, do it the right way. And this idea of doing it the right way seems to be something that's only reserved for black athletes who are seen as arrogant.
Yeah, I mean, there was one play that I just saw him run in for a touchdown in this playoff game last week, and it wasn't even the go-ahead touchdown, right? I mean, it was the go-ahead by, I think, 14 or 21 points, and the guy leaps for the end zone and is about 5 or 6 feet in the air, diving like Superman, gets hit, does a 360 in the air, and just gets up and is enjoying himself,
Smiling.
And I mean, and it's so exciting to watch, and it really is. It is fascinating because the attacks on a guy like Cam Newton, and let's face it. Look, there are no you don't hear anybody say anything about Peyton Manning's. Maybe he's taking these human growth hormones, or that he has a history in his college days of perhaps molesting a woman or anything to this type of these allegations. You hear nothing of that because he's got this sort of traditional look, and he's a white guy. And on some level, the complaints about the way that Cam Newton reacts to and which you would expect based upon the energy that he brings to his game on some level. It strikes me as sort of like a surrogate for some measure of having a problem with a black quarterback. I mean, when I was a kid, that was a very controversial thing that there would be a black quarterback.
Sure.
And there are some people who just, I guess, give that up a little bit later.
It's so interesting because on one level, you see, I wouldn't even call it some sort of enlightened progressive progress, but just an evolutionary progress that you've seen sports be a part of, where it used to be a problem just to have a black man under center, Donovan McNabb. And that was just, McNabb, I believe, was drafted in 99. I mean, so you're talking like not that long ago, and it's an issue.
Was it McNabb that Limbaugh was saying, like, the only reason why he gets any praise at all is because he's black, right?
Yes. So that lovely Rush Limbaugh hired on ESPN to be a football analyst because, the media is so liberal. So you've got this whole thing. And we've moved away from that, where if a team has a black quarterback, nobody is going to reach for, the smelling salts anymore. We're way past that. But where we're not past is this idea that if you are black and perceived as arrogant, the confluence of those two things will just get under a segment of the population's skin to the degree that it's almost like a Tourette's involuntary thing where they can't control themselves and they have to say something. They have to tweet something. They have to have some sort of reaction, which is highly racialized. And I think the thing about Cam Newton that also is shocking to people is that he's also taking, whether he was white, if he was white or black, I mean, the reaction would be different whether he was white or black, but whether he was white or black, he is definitely playing the quarterback position in his own kind of way. I mean, he, in the press conference afterwards, he talked about how the team, he made an analogy where he said this team isn't like instant grits, it's more like slow-cooked collard greens. I mean, Cam Newton is a kid from the South, played in the SEC. This is who he is, and he is a absolutely fearless human being who just happens to have black skin and more talent than anybody who plays the position and is going to be the MVP this year. And so for a lot of folks, it's like culture shock on top of culture shocks. I remember when Robert Griffin III here in Washington had his big ascendancy a couple years ago, and there was this thing where people were saying, oh, he's just like Obama and that he's post-racial and he's bringing us together. And it's like that's, I mean, and then I think one of the mistakes Robert Griffin III did was that he tried to actually play that and have that be a part of who he was. And his team found it obnoxious and disingenuous. And when he couldn't play on the field, NFL fans are so fickle, then all of his phoniness all of a sudden becomes this issue. Well, Cam has never been anything but himself.
Right.
And it's kind of a beautiful thing to see that get rewarded at the highest possible level.
And frankly, I can't wait to watch him play. I mean, it really is. It is really exciting. Dave Zirin, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you, Sam.